You hear it everywhere in sales. Sell on value. Lead with value. Value-based selling. But here's the thing. Before you can sell value, you have to define what that value actually means with your client. And that's where most salespeople stumble. Hi, I'm Brian, founder of That Business Trainer, creator of the sales framework, which helps you sell more deals, larger deals, faster deals, without being cheesy, without being salesy. And it works even if you're an introvert or brand new to sales. So, value. Value isn't static, it shifts. There's the objective side of value, things you can measure, things you can prove, things you can see in numbers. And then there's also the subjective side. These are your client's beliefs, preferences, relationships, chemistry, the timings. So if you want to sell value effectively, you need a repeatable way to uncover it and to define it with every person or team that you talk to. And so over the years, we have found a simple structure that keeps us grounded in those conversations. It has 5 parts. You can count them on one hand. So the first one is issues. Every solution has to solve something, either a problem that matters or it has to create something, a result they really care about. Sometimes there's just one, oftentimes there are several. Our job is to get all those value drivers out on the table. Um, we'll just ask, what problems are you hoping this solution will address? What results are you hoping this solution will provide you? And then shut up and listen. And then once we have a list, we can say, great, if we solve just those, or if we achieve that and nothing else, would that meet your needs? Usually that will trigger a moment of reflection. Actually, there's just one more thing. And that's how you make sure the list is complete, not just from their point of view, but also from your point of view. You want to make sure you have all these issues out. So we get all the issues out. The second is we want evidence. We want to know, what does that issue look like, or what's that result going to look like? Like, how does the issue show up today? What does it look like at your company? What's it look like in real life? I want them to picture the problem as it exists right now so we can talk about it. And then we talk about, if it was solved, how would we know? What would that look like? How would that show up? What would success look like? And that creates clarity because it moves from vague feelings to measurable, or at least viewable or perceived outcomes. And then we want to know the impact. So this is crucial. Problems only matter if their impact is meaningful. You might ask, what's the issue costing you today? And that can be in time, money, morale, opportunity costs, whatever. Or if you achieve that result, what would be the tangible payoff? Right? What would happen in the company? I've talked to people about impact that's beyond, like, hey, what happens if we don't solve this? And what's it costing you? And depending on what you're selling, in my case, it was computer training at the time. The impact was the team would lose their job. Like, if they didn't get this certification by certain time, they would lose clients because they weren't certified to help them, and they would lose their job because in order to uphold their job, they had to maintain these certifications. So these are major impacts that mean a lot to people. And once you understand that, then you can work on, okay, well, how best to solve this? And it gives other indicators. Why was it so critical that we got them this training now? Well, if you're going to lose your job in 30 days, you better get the training now. So it helps you understand the issues deeper. So the fourth one we have is context. These business problems we're trying to solve typically don't exist in isolation. Even if you're talking to one department or one person, it's always part of a bigger system. So you really need to get good at asking, who else is affected by this problem? Or what other departments are impacted by this, or the changes we're trying to do. What comes with fixing that, and see where it goes. Even if it's a solopreneur who is handling all those departments themselves, they might not have looked at the relation between it. So it's up to you to get these on the table. Understanding the context gives you the map. It gives you any politics behind it. It gives you dependencies and interrelational dependencies. It gives you the people behind it that can either drive the momentum to make this a success or impede your progress. And speaking of, that's the last thing we talk about, are constraints. So this is where you're going to separate yourself from your competitors. This is where you become the elite salesperson. This is where you become the trusted advisor. When you start talking about if the issues are that important and the impact is big, your natural question is, what stopped you from solving this already? What are these constraints holding it back? Or what used to hold it back? What's changed? I can remember talking with someone who needed our service, and we talked to him every year for 3 years before I joined the company and 3 years while I was with the company. And we talked to them every year. And the second year I dealt with them, I just said, look, you're back again. You say you want this. What's stopping you? And he would tell you, and you would say, look, if it was really that important, we would have moved forward. And helping him see this wasn't going to move forward was eye-opening. It helps us realize we're not going to devote a lot of time to these prospect, and we're going to go help somebody who we can help. It also helped him understand that he was handcuffed inside that company. So these are real conversations to have that other salespeople aren't having. They're just trying to pitch them. And hey, we're not challenging people here in a hard way. These are reality checks. So my favorite question is, hey, what if we do nothing? What happens then? Right? Let's say all these constraints stay. We can't do a thing. What happens? And you're tying that back in again with that impact. So I've got the constraints, the impact. And once you start having these real conversations, your client really opens up to you. And you might find there's a resource gap. You might find there's decision fatigue around it. Or you might find that there's competing priorities and this just isn't that important. Even though it appears important, there might be something more important or with a larger impact. I just want to get these all out. Remember, we haven't decided whether we're going to work together or not. I haven't spent all my time proposing solutions. So whatever it is, we want to identify constraints early, which is going to help us decide whether to move forward. And if we do, it's going to help us design a solution that actually fits. So that framework, again, 5 steps. You get issues, evidence, impact, context, constraints. And together, that's a structured opportunity conversation. And remember, one of the only rules, start anywhere, go everywhere. You don't have to follow everything perfectly in order. Just make sure you cover everything. And by the end, you'll know exactly what your client values most, how much that value is worth to them, not just to you. And that's when you can start talking about solutions, because now you're not guessing. You're building from a shared understanding. And that's how value truly gets defined, and that's how value gets sold. So the next time you're in that sales conversation, remember, you don't start with a pitch. You start with your process. Ask questions that reveal value. Because once you understand what matters most to them, the rest of the sale becomes simple. Notice I said simple, not easy. Please don't confuse the two. We teach this stuff live inside the Sales Framework Workshop. It's where we help you master these conversations in real time, especially if you don't want to sound salesy, and definitely if you consider yourself an introvert. Remember, you don't have to be the loudest or the most talkative salesperson to be the top performing salesperson. If there are any links below, check them for upcoming workshops, or hey, just get in touch with us for your specific needs. And we'll see you in the next video.
Money.